Hi. Sorry I can't be there with you. And we're here to talk about creating certainty in a world of change, but I'd like to begin with a simple statement that just simply says we do not create certainty in mining. And in some cases, the pursuit of certainty actually makes our decisions worse. And that may sound counterintuitive, especially in a room full of engineers and scientists, regulators, and investors, whoever is here. But I want to suggest that what we really do, what we must do, is something different. We make defensible decisions under an irreducible uncertainty. So let's be honest about the systems we deal with. Our ore bodies are heterogeneous, incompletely sampled, and scale dependent. Tailings facilities are evolving landforms, partially saturated, internally variable, and only indirectly observed. Water systems change over time, seasonally, climatically, and in response to our own interventions. And all of this unfolds over decades. So when we approve a design or sign off on a facility or certify a system, what do we actually do? We are not verifying performance. We are making a judgment about how the system is expected to behave based on incomplete knowledge. But here's where I think we get into trouble. We begin to confuse confidence with certainty. We say things like, the model shows this, the factor of safety is acceptable, the system is compliant, there have been no alarms, and slowly these statements accumulate into something that feels like certainty. But each of those statements has limitations. Models are abstractions, factors of safety are conditional, compliance is procedural, and no alarms is not a performance argument. In fact, one of the most dangerous conditions in our field is this. When nothing appears to be wrong and we stop asking what might be, this is what I call the certainty illusion. We are constructing what I would call this certainty narrative, a story that allows us to ourselves, to regulators, to investors, to communities, allows us to say the system is understood, the system is under control. But the reality is more complicated. We cannot fully observe these systems. We cannot test them at full scale before they exist, and we cannot predict all future conditions, especially over long time frames. So the question becomes, if certainty is not achievable, what should we be aiming for? What is the goal? I would suggest that the goal is not certainty. The goal is defensibility, and defensibility has a very different structure. Defensibility requires that we can clearly articulate what assumptions we made, what failure modes are plausible, what conditions could trigger those failures, and what the consequences would be. And then we also want to know what we are monitoring, how we interpret what we observe, and what actions will we take when observations diverge from expectations. This is a chain, an explicit, testable, and revisable chain. And importantly, it does not require us to claim that we are certain. It requires us to show that we are being prepared. So let me show you what I mean. In this drawing, the top band is what we believe will happen, our assumptions, models, anticipated consequences, and the bottom band is what we actually observe and how we respond over time. And the gap between them, that's not an error, that is the condition that we are managing. Defensibility is how we deal with that gap. And this overall loop that we can see is where defensibility is earned. Defensibility is earned through learning, through revision, over time. So we reach the conclusion that time matters. And responsible certainty, if we want to use that word at all, does not come at the beginning. It emerges over time. At the moment of design approval, uncertainty is actually at its highest. And then over time, we observe, we compare, we reconcile, and we adjust. But even here, we need to be careful because more data does not automatically mean more understanding. And pattern recognition is not the same thing as an explanation. So the real task is not just to collect data, it's to interpret performance responsibly over time. So, what does this mean for responsible raw materials? If we take this seriously, four things change. First, from certainty, we change to transparency. We must be explicit about what is not known. Second, from compliance to acceptability. Compliance is not the same as safety or trust. Third, from design completion to performance stewardship. Responsibility begins after approval. And fourth, from confidence to accountability. Decisions must be explainable and revisitable. So I will close with this. Certainty is not something we achieve. It's often something we claim. However, defensibility is something we earn over time through observation, judgment, and accountability. And perhaps the most responsible thing we can do as an industry is to be honest about the difference. Thank you.
As always, the wonderful Priscilla Nelson. I'm sure you'll agree with me that that was a fantastic talk that she sent in. And it's only 7 minutes long. What a glorious thing to be able to go back and listen to again. I really love the fact that she talks about how often we kid ourselves with certainty. And Grace, certainly from, think about tailings dams. How many engineers have we worked with where people go, oh, but it's not designed to fail? Yeah, but it could. And actually, that's what we're then talking about. But that requires quite a big leap of people being allowed to be vulnerable, perhaps, in terms of what they're doing there. And I think some of what she talks about, there's quite a lot of parallels in the world of human and organizational performance, or HOP. And so people in the world of health and safety, etc., talk about that quite a lot, where people talk about work as imagined versus work as done. So it's really interesting. It's similar concepts coming in from the world of psychology and behavioral science, but then also the world of engineering. So massive, massive thank you to the wonderful Priscilla, and we hope that you're enjoying yourself off in the middle of the field. So big thank you very much to Priscilla.